Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back, everybody. We're going to talk with somebody today that she's going to improve your intelligence. It's called PQ, emotional intelligence. We're going to learn more about this, but we've also got examples of how this can change your life, and also an exercise that we're going to take you through a little bit better. How does she do this? She is an amazing life coach that works with many different individuals. Her wheelhouse is wide open, but she has a specialty in working with nonprofit organizations. She is our professional of the year. Carey joins us on the program. Once again, how you doing?
I'm good. Glad to be here today.
So we talked about this PQ thing in the beginning when we got together a long time ago. Let's go back on that. What exactly is PQ?
Okay, it stands for Positive Intelligence Quotient, which is, a lot of words. But basically what it means is that it's a simple exercise that you do designed to build your mental fitness by strengthening your self-command muscle in your brain. And, basically what positive intelligence is that it helps you discern when you're having negative thoughts and how to stop those negative thoughts and start thinking more positively. That's simple, and as simple as it can be. Your negative thoughts are in your left side of your brain, and your positive thoughts are in the right side of your brain.
Okay, I want to share something with you because you just said what happened to me this morning. So I'm walking my dog and I just have some quiet time there. It's like 6:45 in the morning. I get a moment to think. Birds are singing, just peaceful. And I start having thoughts. And, I guess we'll call them negative thoughts, but it was like, well, I got to take care of that. Or, that situation is kind of challenging. And there's probably about 3 of them in a span of like maybe 20 minutes. You've just your brain, the squirrel brain bouncing all over the place.
Absolutely.
And when I had those thoughts, I immediately flipped it and almost dismissed them out of like, you don't need to think about that. Get rid of that. And just like, it's almost like taking out the garbage, throw it out. But it was real. Like it was, another thought popped in my head. I'm like, well, that's going to be a challenge. Oh boy. I don't need to think about that. That's not affecting me. I don't, why am I even thinking about that? Threw that one out just as fast as they came in. Now, the reason I bring this up, it sounds like what you talked about, but I wonder, how do you know the difference from when you have a negative thought that you've just changed gears and now it's not negative anymore, or that you're squashing it and you're burying it? You're burying it somewhere in maybe your subconscious or somewhere, and it could rear its ugly head, whatever.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're constantly having thoughts in our brain. And those negative thoughts are alive and well, and usually when you have those negative thoughts, they're not in the present. You're thinking about the past, things that didn't go well, or you're thinking about the possible anxieties that could happen in the future.
Yep.
But if you stick to the present, you're not going to have those thoughts. And I guess I would say that the whole goal of positive intelligence is really to make sure that you're not ruminating on those negative thoughts. Because when you are, you can't strategize, you can't think positively, you can't grow, you can't make good decisions because you're stuck in that negative place.
Yeah. And that's what happened today, this morning, when I had those thoughts. I came back. I'm like, your mind wanders, and it was things in the future. So, and I came back to, I'm here. It's beautiful out. Trees look wonderful. My dog's happy. Birds are singing. And then I thought, I don't need to think about that stuff. What am I doing? You don't need to. What are you worried about? You don't need to think about that. It's not even. It didn't transpire, or it's something that is out of my control anyway. So why am I wasting my time? As
Well,
soon as it came in, it was gone.
Steve, I want to congratulate you for doing that. That is wonderful. I mean, that's healthy. That's a good way to be. So often with executive directors or CEOs of businesses, they have so much stress
Sure.
and so many concerns, whether it's financial, personnel, that they easily can get into that habit of having, oh, if I do this, will this happen? Or will that happen? You
Yeah.
know, and just to give you an example, a saboteur, which are those negative thoughts that we've been talking about, if I was to say to you, Steve, I I'm going to fail this test. I know I'm going to fail. And if I fail, then I'm not going to get that promotion.
Hmm.
Okay. So the purpose of PQ is that when you have that negative thought, you immediately, just sort of like you did, turn it into a positive or look at what the gift or the opportunity is. So, with that scenario that I just shared with you, how would you turn it into an opportunity?
Now, just want to make sure frame of reference. I'm concerned about what?
I failed a test.
Did
And
you
if I,
did it actually the test was failed? Yes.
yes, it was failed. It wasn't like I'm worried I'm going to fail. It was I actually failed the test. Okay. And
Hmm.
then I immediately start thinking, oh, I'm not going to get my promotion. Oh my gosh, maybe I'll lose my job. So, how could you turn that into an opportunity?
All right. First thoughts here, and I don't know the logistics of the test, but I would wonder, can I take it again? Maybe there's another opportunity. I wonder about that. Um,
Okay, good.
and there's been some changes in my world, and two things changed, and I looked at it as that's the universe telling me I might want to look over here. There's a reason things change. Maybe I need to turn the car a little bit and go in this direction as opposed to that one. And I honestly, and I'm not just saying this because we're talking about it, but I looked at the negative in terms of an opportunity. Maybe now that's an opportunity for me to put a little fire under my butt and push harder in this direction. Um, 5 years ago, before any of this, talking about positive intelligence. I didn't even know what it was back then.
Right.
It would be a very different world. It would be me in DEFCON 4. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like what's going to happen now. Can you believe that? Blah, 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 blah. I don't do that
Yeah.
anymore. So with the test, that's a good question. What, how would you frame that in your mind to turn it into a positive?
Well, this scenario happened to me.
Oh,
It was a
okay.
real scenario. And this was long before positive intelligence even existed. Um, and for me, I went to DEF CON 4. I
Hmm.
did. But what I know now, and I've learned over the years, is that um, even when I fail, I think about, okay, what did I learn about myself? Okay, maybe I was focused on the wrong things. Maybe I allowed myself to get too stressed about the scenario.
Hmm.
You know, you could go on and on. So, what I learned is a lot of things that will help me actually succeed in the future. So, you know, part of learning, if we're not learning, I guess I'd say, you know, or if we're not failing, then we're not learning. You know, we're just
Hmm.
going along in life like everything is just perfect. You know, we have our little ups and downs, but failing is important. And I had never failed before. I always have been
Hmm.
successful. So that made it even more difficult for me because I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought I was bright. So you have these negative thoughts that like, oh, am I dumb? Am I like, maybe I shouldn't go in this direction, just like you said. So those kind of thoughts really stifle us and do not help us at all.
I find this word just pops in my mind all the time talking about this. Now that I, look at things and don't go into DEFCON 4 or 5, whatever. I don't want that to sound flippant, but situation presents instead of is it really what you think it is? It's almost as if this thing shows up, the situation shows up, and
Right.
for the initially, and I'm not minimizing anybody or any feelings or anything, but initially it shows up like the 800-pound gorilla, like, "Brr."
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But when
Those
you
are
look at it, it's
real
like,
feelings.
right, it has that feeling to it. But when you take a step back for a moment, like you're just you're 4 inches tall. Why am I worried about you? You're not a big gorilla. Just whatever, go away. I don't have to worry about you. It's a choice. I don't have to. It's not affecting me. I'm allowing it to affect me.
Absolutely. That's really, what positive intelligence is all about. It's learning to control your own brain
Yeah.
instead of your brain controlling you.
Mhm.
PQ reps are really like, when we go to the gym and we work out
Sure.
and we lift dumbbells to get those biceps strong. Well, PQ reps are the same thing, only those repetitions are really to strengthen your brain, strengthen the right side of your brain.
Mm.
And when you do that, it weakens those those negative thoughts. PQ helps create and strengthen these neural pathways in your brain. And the more you do them, and you have to do them consistently, daily, the stronger and more resilient you become. And it's much easier to go from that negative thought and recognizing it, because that's the first thing. A lot of people, will go on for 10 minutes before they realize, oh my gosh, that's a negative thought. That's not true.
Mm.
I'm not dumb. I'm not stupid, And then they look at doing some PQ exercises. And then, when you do the PQ exercises, which are like 10-second sensory exercises, like, for example, noticing your feet on the floor
Mm.
or really listening to sounds around you or paying attention to your breath. It's really getting away from all those past regrets and future anxieties and focus on the here and now.
Does it also help you prioritize? For example, I said before, whatever, I'm not going to let that worry me. That I'm not, it doesn't mean I'm irresponsible and I'm just shunning
Right,
everything away. Just go away. I'm not, I'm just going to live in my bubble, not pay my bills and let life, happen. I don't mean that, but
right.
putting it in an order of importance. There are some things that, that big gorilla, it's really not big. I don't have to worry about it right now. I don't have to worry about it at all. Go over to the side. But there could be some other things that present. But instead of freaking out over them, it's just like, I need to deal with you. I'm going to take care of that calmly. We got it. We're all good. Instead of freaking out, does it help you in your mind prioritize?
Oh, absolutely. And what you just did is a very good example of taking that negative thought and using your right side of your brain, those positive thoughts, to strategize on what you need to do.
Mm.
If you stay in those negative thoughts, you're not able to strategize.
Yes.
It's the end of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you're in water, you're swimming, and now you had a negative thought. You're underwater right now. I'm trying to swim. I'm
Right.
trying to come up. I'm trying to get a fix on my position and what's going on, but I can't because I'm being challenged or I'm worried about something that you probably don't need to worry about.
Absolutely. And I think one of the other things you said that's really important is looking at what you don't have control over.
Mm.
An example would be if you're a nonprofit, or even if you are not a nonprofit, and you're a business, what's going on in the government, whether it's tariffs or grants, you don't know what's going to happen. So instead of like worrying and thinking about all the possible scenarios of what could go wrong, you say,
Yeah.
I don't have any control over that. So what can I do?
Yep.
So what you can do is you can strategize. Okay, if if I lose this grant, what are my options that are available to me to raise those dollars? If I'm a business and I'm going to all of a sudden have to pay high tariffs, high taxes for an item I need, then start looking at where else can I possibly get this product
Yeah.
that will be successful so I can continue moving forward. So it's really just paying attention to those thoughts and making sure that you just don't stay in that negative framework.
You can't control the economy. You can't control, I
No,
don't do politics, but it is what it
right.
is. And especially if you're a nonprofit, and there's some pretty major challenges even before the current economic climate, go back even, a year,
Oh,
whatever.
yeah, absolutely.
But maybe there is an opportunity to work differently, some call it smarter, pivot in another direction, get sponsorships, get creative. I believe that there's always the opportunity there. There's always a lesson to be learned, but sometimes we jump down that rabbit hole and we don't see it because we're in freak mode.
Absolutely. And I think that as a leader, it's really important to hold that positivity
Mm.
and those strategies, because if you're uh, an executive director of a nonprofit, you've got board members, and they might be freaking out.
Hmm.
You have to present yourself
Yeah.
in a calm manner and strategize and you need to be the voice of reason.
Yeah.
And the same thing if you have your business. You may have boards of directors, or you may have management staff that are freaking out. You need to be transparent with them that, yes, there are concerns, but we need to all work together to make sure that we can be successful and move forward. It may look very different than it does right now, but different isn't necessarily bad. It's just different.
Now, you said you were going to share with us a certain type of exercise to take us through.
Mm-hmm. But one more comment that I want to make is that the difference between doing PQ and like meditation is that PQ exercises are very versatile. You can do them with your eyes open or closed. And it's really a practical tool that improves your focus and enhances your overall well being and really helps you with your stress.
Mm.
So, with that said, let's do a 2-minute PQ rep. And we're going to do it with our eyes open, Steve. So, what I'm wondering about you is, because in this sort of atmosphere, it's sort of challenging to be able to focus
Yep.
on something other than your screen. So, I don't know if you want to turn that off or if you want to turn your chair around.
So am I focusing on picking an object and just staring at it?
Yeah, you're going to be doing some of all of that for 2 minutes.
Mm. Um, I have an object. I'm looking right now.
Okay. All right. Shall we get started?
Please do.
Okay. We're going to start with some visual PQs. Shift all your attention on the thing in front of you. Become exquisitely aware of what you're seeing. See textures and shapes in great detail. Now shift to a soft, diffused visual focus on whatever you are looking at so you can tune it out. Now, focus your sharp primary attention on your sense of touch. Touch something with your fingertips. Move your fingertips so you can really feel all the nuanced sensations of touch on your fingertips. With your visual focus remaining soft and diffused, notice your breath now, with the rising and falling of your stomach with each breath. Okay. Nice job, Steve.
I'm going to stop.
Did it, I mean, I didn't know if this would be challenging for you in this sort of environment or not.
No, I was right there.
Okay,
Nothing else mattered except what I was doing. So there was no
good,
other thoughts even allowed to enter my
good,
mind because I was focused on, and I was touching a mouse pad. There's some stitching on the edges, but I've also heard people go like this. They just roll their fingers together and
right.
concentrate on your fingerprint, you know, because there's
Mm-hmm.
texture there. I was staring at a light, an LED on a piece of equipment, and I made it sharp. But then when you said diffuse it, I just, stared at it, but I wasn't like laser focused on it. But
Right.
nothing else came into my mind except just kind of just floating into that direction and just putting my attention on that.
That's good. So can you see you had your eyes open, how if you were in a meeting that was really stressful,
Mm,
how you could do something like that and no one around you would necessarily know what you were doing, but
mm-mm.
it would help ground you. And if you were going to comment on what was happening in the meeting, hopefully that would help you choose the right words rather than maybe showing anger or frustration so that you could really be in charge of your thoughts.
It's almost as if you get out of your head and even your you could underneath the desk be touching your fingertips or touching stitching on your clothing or whatever. Nobody even knows, and that you're
Right.
refocusing your attention. I want to share with you the impact that what you just did had, but connected to something I did about a year and a half ago, where I met somebody. I don't even know. She was a hypnotist, but the exercise was exactly what you said. Staring at an object, and the object was one of those squishy balls. You know, you get them to relieve stress, and
Right.
it was on the back of a pencil, and it was just placed in front of me, and that's what I was told to focus on, and I did for a extended period of time. By just doing that, I'm not kidding. I had visions of my childhood. I had visions of me being in my low 20s. I had visions of doing things even when I was in my 20s that I enjoyed doing. For example, jogging. I would put on headphones, had a Walkman back then, and I would just jog around a track, and it was just wonderful. It was I listen to music, get exercise. I felt myself doing that. It was the weirdest thing, but it transported me back, and just by staring at something. That's it. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And, the whole point of doing the PQ exercises is really to strengthen those muscles so you can go from those negative thoughts really quickly to the positive ones.
Hmm.
And you're doing really well because a lot of people struggle with all those thoughts as they're trying to stare at this object, they have other like crazy thoughts. Oh, I should be doing this, or I should be doing that come into play. For you to be able to do that, but it was only 2 minutes. So if we perhaps did it for 5 or 10, you might find that those thoughts come into play. But so you're doing well.
Well, thank you, but it's been a process. And again, if this was 4 years ago, five, whatever, I couldn't do it. It would or it would be different. But now I look forward to it. I actually look forward to going home sometimes and laying in bed. Like, yeah, I gotta get everything done, do the laundry, blah, blah, blah. I'm laying in bed. I'm just thinking. I'm closing my eyes. I'm not sleeping. TV could be on. I don't even watch TV. It's
Right.
on, and I get into a zone, and I think, or I don't think, and I look forward to it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. This is great. It's a reminder of how simple it can be to change your life and change your thinking. But again, it takes practice. It's not same thing. Like you said, going to the gym. You're not going to walk in there and bench press, 400 pounds. You got to
Right.
do the reps
Absolutely.
and
Yeah,
get there. Yeah.
absolutely. And I guess next time, what I'd like to talk about is how your sage brain, your right side, those positive thoughts really help leaders be successful.
Looking forward to that. How do we find you, Karen?
My website, www.thrivecoachingandconsulting.com. Spell it out, please. Or you can call me 775-790-2978.
Thank you for the insight today. Thank you for the exercise. I forgot how wonderful that is. I'm not even kidding. And it's so simple. It's just
Oh, it is.
when they say, "Well, I think they zoned out." Yeah, I zoned out intentionally, and wonderful, and that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. We'll catch up next time.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye-bye.
Bye. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.